Let's start out broad. The first question I have for the three of you is, what are we talking in the way of prevalence of teen dating violence? You guys are on the front lines. You see these as they occur. Are you having to deal with this a lot? Are you seeing a lot of this? What sort of thing are you seeing with regard to teen dating violence?
Well, it's common.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening in the schools. It's happening in communities, within homes, same sex, opposite sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening, and I believe it's becoming the norm for some youth, which can be somewhat challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Our youth needs support, and sometimes our youth don't have support. We're trying to figure out what's healthy and what's unhealthy for our youth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to make sure that we become a listening ear to find out what's the issue and come up with some solutions.
Yeah, and 1 in 12 youth will experience dating violence. And I know that's something that has increased over the years. And females and LGBTQIA plus youth are way more at risk than heterosexual couples. And so it's just something that is running rampant in our schools and within our community too.
I may be being presumptuous here. I think people often think of teen dating violence as physical violence, which obviously is, I'm sure, a large part of it. Are there other aspects of harm that you all are seeing that teens are coming to you with beyond just physical violence?
Yes. So there's several forms of abuse that it could look like, or dating violence. So like stalking, intimidation. It can be emotional abuse or like threats,
Verbal abuse,
Yeah.
sexual.
Yeah. Do you think at one time that sort of thing was just seen as, he likes her or he's interested in her? And has the mindset changed? Has it evolved to where now we realize, this is a problem?
Yeah, I think something that, I don't know if you all heard this growing up as a kid, but when there was someone who was like mean to a kid at school, it'd be like, oh, he just likes you, you know? Right. And then the more that we grow up, we realize this is actually not what we want to be teaching our kids and not what we want to encourage. And so I think those kind of things that we talk about and how we say these things to our kids at such a young age can really impact how they are in older relationships as teens and as young adults too.
We talked a little bit about red flags and green flags on our call the other day. Can you guys tell us what red flags and green flags are and what they mean, what the consequence is, and how that ties into unsafe behavior?
I would say a lot of red flags could be controlling.
Okay.
Taking over cell phones, making you do things that you normally did not do. Isolating yourself. A lot of youth are doing things that they were very active in school. Grades are going down, not wanting to communicate with their peers or with their trusted adults and families, and all of a sudden they're shutting down. Bruises that maybe can be seen or not be seen. There's many different red flags to where you're in question. You're asking what's normal, what's not normal. And sometimes you think that it is okay.
Yeah.
And it's not okay. But also some teens don't have that support system who they can talk to and who their trusted adult is to try to discuss those red flags.
Yeah.
And I think we see this piece of like dishonesty or insecurity or like codependency. So like I'm dishonest about where I'm going or needing that like constant reassurance, I think is what we see a lot too, or I can only do certain things without my partner. I can't go anywhere without my partner or my boyfriend or my girlfriend. And that can just kind of sometimes domino effect too.
Yeah.
A common thing that we're seeing too is a lot of like internet related things, so like social media. So having control of somebody else's social media or what you can and can't post, things like that, or like your location, sharing your location seems to be a very common thing. Like if you're my partner, I want to know your location at all times. So that's something we're seeing a lot of.
And like social media having the location services on like every app. It's like on Find My iPhone, it's Life 360, it's like Snapchat, Instagram, like
Instagram now,
they all
everything.
have
Yes.
location services. So
Yes.
follow me and share your location so I can see where you're at and what you're doing and start to question you. And sometimes it can just start as something that's, not as overt. It's not as like obvious. It's like, oh, what are you doing at home? Who are you with? Who's there? Asking those questions, then slowly it can kind of start to build upon that. And it can get, more and more dangerous or more and more intense too.
Right.
How do we know that it's getting dangerous? How do we know that what you're talking about right now, because that's a pretty fascinating phenomenon that we see in social media these days, that it's presented to social media users as a benefit, like, hey, get all your friends on this, know where that, and it does seem innocent for a while, because, your best friend, you know where your best friend is, and you know where your family is, or whoever. When is it that it begins to be a problem in a relationship?
I mean, I think that, there's certain safety features, right, that parents may have to make sure they know where their young person is. If they're, going out with friends, there's some safety going on there. But when it comes to partners or your friends wanting your location at all times, you have to look at it in a way of like, is it because they want to know that I'm safe, or is it because they're tracking me? Which then it goes back to like that stalking again, right? So that's another form of digital stalking. I can see you move on the map, and I can see if you're at school, or I can see whose house you're at, or things like that. So I think it goes
Or
into that.
I see you like active on Instagram, but you haven't responded to my text
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or those types of things. And I think to answer your question as well is like the frequency, how often are they checking in on these things? What words are they using when they're checking in with you? If we're being really intense about it and it's happening often and it's lasting for a long time, or your partner gets really angry if you say you're at X person's house.
Yeah.
Those types of things are things to watch out for in your young people, is just like the frequency of it. Absolutely.
I agree. The jealousy definitely happens. The jealousy, the mistrust, the miscommunication, the what's going on. I need to know. Control.
Yeah.
Can I talk to that person? If not, they're always raising their voice and becoming verbally aggressive. Those are a lot of signs to where it can become physical.
Yeah. I think all three of you have at one point used the word control. And I also find that fascinating. Why is it not seen the same way that, physical violence is seen? I mean, why is control so prevalent?
I think because it's sometimes unrecognizable. You don't know what you're experiencing until you're out of it, or until someone points it out to you. And so when we think about our friends or our peers or people of similar ages, right? If they're doing the same thing and that's how, their partner is, and they're like, oh, my partner does that, it's no big deal. Right. But then they tell a safe and trusted adult, and us as adults, we're like, oh my goodness, alarms are kind of going off in our minds. But I think some of it can be normalized because peers are experiencing the same thing, and it might be unrecognizable, or they're keeping things a secret, or they're keeping things extremely private. And so no one really knows the ins and outs of the relationship too.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, add to it, let's just talk about how a lot of youth in their living status, they grew up or is living violence within the home. And they may think that it's okay because mom or dad is verbally aggressive or physically aggressive.
Yeah.
And so they can pick up those traits and become aggressive.
Yeah.
And sometimes it may look like the norm, but it's unhealthy. And so how can we help that youth get services, get help? And some youth, they don't have any support.
Yeah. We think, oh, well, this is maybe a husband and wife. Control is not part of the equation, but it can, even in a traditional married relationship, control can be a harmful issue, just like physical abuse or mental abuse that you're talking about.
And I think talking about these things, and we're talking about teen dating violence, but all of the red flags that we just talked about are also red flags for adult relationships as well, and friendships. Like it doesn't even have to be someone that you're dating or talking to, or, that you're in a relationship with. It can be with friends, and it can be, adult to adult as well.
Yeah. And Sarah Lynn, you were talking a minute ago you said something about they don't realize it until they're out of it. And that's so true. And And a lot of us have
Yeah.
experienced that in our lives. Like we have that perspective now that we are out of certain
like
relationships.
aha moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something that we can communicate so that they have a little perspective before they get into the, potentially dangerous or controlling or harmful situation?
Yeah.
It's impossible to put them in our situation.
Yeah.
Right.
We've seen it, we've experienced. Is there anything that we can do here?
Yeah. I think, our program, we go into schools and we do a lot of prevention education. And so that's what we're doing when we're working with middle schoolers and high schoolers. And then we're at after school programs. I mean, we're talking to young people about what a healthy relationship looks like, and not just a healthy relationship with a partner, but a healthy relationship with a friend, a healthy relationship, with your trusted adult. What are healthy relationship traits? And so I think building those relationships with young people more and more on, teaching and going back to modeling those behaviors. So as a trusted adult, I want to make sure, that I'm showing that I'm a trustworthy person. I'm not controlling or using intimidation or, any of those things. So I think modeling, and then a lot of prevention work, which is happening a lot in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And I always say start early and a little bit of information at a time. You don't have to sit your young person down and tell them every single thing they need to know about a dating relationship. You don't have to tell them everything they need to know about any subject, right? Start young and little bits of information over a long period of time. And if you're listening to this and you are like, oh my gosh, my kid is 16, I didn't start earlier, start now.
Yeah.
Start whenever you want. And starting early and little bits of information, because when we sit down and sometimes we lecture these young people, they are like, la, 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 they tune us out. But these little bits of information over a period of time can be really helpful. And I think that modeling behavior of showing mutual respect when you're talking to another adult or you're talking to a young person, you're modeling some of that mutual respect as well, which is a green flag for healthy relationships.
I agree. It really goes all the way back to within the home. Taking time out to talk to your child about anything, building that safe and healthy relationship. And that looks different from every home status, but check-ins are real. Checking in with your children, checking in with your support system, whoever that may be. Ask them how they doing in school. What is school looking like? Attending them and being supportive for them, being their cheerleader. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, identifying with that youth, what is their support system? What does it look like?
Yeah.
Listen to me sometimes. Be a listening ear, because not always as a parent we are right, but be a listening ear. And you can hear so much from a youth, because sometimes they feel like, as parents, as educators, as social workers, as teachers, we don't understand. So just listening is really good. And then from there, just communicate and be supportive.
Yeah. And you're touching on this a little bit. What does it look like? You've referenced a few things just then, but how can caring adults begin to create this?
I think it needs to go beyond mom and dad. I tell the caregivers that I work with when we're working on a crisis plan. So, and that can be any crisis. But if you're having really big feelings, who are you going to at school, at home, at your extracurriculars? Mom and dad aren't always going to be there. And I sometimes prep the caregivers that I work with of like, you're going to see someone else's name on there. Doesn't mean that you're not a safe and trusted adult, but they need more people. And for someone who is in a young person's life as a friend, a godmother, an aunt, an uncle, like you can be those people for them. And coaches, counselors, teachers at school. I think all of those things.
Yeah. It definitely takes a village. It takes a village. Youth need village, and that may look like some of their friends, best friends. But adults, we need a village too.
Yeah.
To make sure that we have the pathway to also navigate and help the youth and the families, because not always parents have the education, the resources, the information to help guide and mold and love and teach their kid. So as the support system in the village, we come in and we help that youth and the families.
Yeah.